This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
Let's go!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Power Hour is back here on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies lose again in Toronto. NBA Finals tonight. You can hear all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN starting at 7:30 tonight. And the ShopRite LPGA Classic. It is back starting Friday. Of course, Mike Gill and the Sports Bash will be on location for the Bash. Mike Gill, Nick Earnshaw from 2 to 6 on 97.3 ESPN. But before we get there, you will hear from South Jersey's own Joanna Coe. If you didn't hear the news, Joanna was the final qualifier for the tournament. She shot a 3-under on Monday, and wait till you hear her story about how this all came together, because frankly, if she ends up playing even okay this weekend, I think a lot of people are going to look back on the story of how she ended up in the qualifier and how she ended up playing this weekend as almost like a made-for-movie moment. Like, I need a Hallmark movie about this at this point. Wait till you hear that coming up in less than 40 minutes from now. Also joining us at 6:20 tonight, NBA insider Brandon ScoopB Robinson will get his thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals. But first, before we get to any of that, along with your texts, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See ya. And as always, we are live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Phillies have lost 2 straight in Toronto. And after the game last night, I at least felt like, all right, they had a bad day at the office. Maybe, they were bound to lose that game. Your top 3 hitters go 0 for 12. Your top 4 hitters go, 1 for 16, I believe it was. So you came into the game this afternoon like, all right, Luzardo, he's going to bounce back. They're going to get this win in Toronto. We're going to hit that road trip with a winning record, right? And then everything went sideways. When Bo Bichette hit that 2-run homer to make it 4-0 Blue Jays, that was the moment I realized they are going to lose this game. That was the moment I realized this is not going well. And I realized very quick that with how poorly Philadelphia was at the plate versus Chris Bassett today, and Luzardo, I hate to put it this way, he looks like he's damaged goods at this point. He looks like he needs a mental break or something, because this guy, before his last 2 starts, was one of the best pitchers in baseball. MLB insider John Heyman, he had said on multiple platforms that Jose Luzardo is the best acquisition of all Major League Baseball this offseason. And then you had the last game where they left him in too long. I think we all can agree on that now, right? We all can agree that in the last game, they just left him out there too long, and he got cooked. He got absolutely cooked. And as soon as he got cooked, it's like he has not mentally rebounded since. And again, I'm not saying that is the only reason, but it seems to be a pretty big reason why we are in this situation. And I just got to think for Luzardo, who was basically made a sacrificial lamb in his last start to absorb all those runs and all those bad vibes, right? That it has to be negatively impacting him now, because he started out the game well. He had almost a 1-2-3 inning in the first inning. You thought everything was fine, but then the second inning and the third inning, it just completely fell apart. And now you have a pitcher with his psyche is out of whack now. He went from having a sub-2 ERA to now having a 4.46 ERA. in 2 starts. And the one start, you could argue, was avoidable if Nick Castellanos and Alec Boehm would just do their job. And it brings me back to the gripe I have had here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. I have been griping about the roster construction of this team. And we are seeing once again that the lack of capable and competent defense and the lack of competent hitters in this lineup is coming back to bite this team. You heard Mike Gill mention it on the Sports Bash earlier on 97.3 ESPN. This is a flawed roster. Well, those flaws are being exposed again and again and again and again to the point where now I don't know how anyone watching this team from the Phillies front office all the way down the chain can look at this team and be like, yeah, we're still a pretty good really good baseball team. Yeah, we're fine. All I think of is the meme of the dog drinking coffee and saying everything is fine in the house that's burning. That's what the Phillies are right now. We keep being told that we are getting rain on our head and it's something else. And I'm sick and tired of it. We had one really good game this week. Tuesday. 2 bombs by Trey Turner, a bomb by Bryce Harper. You were like, we're back, baby. You got all excited. And then yesterday, you wasted a great start by Mick Abel. And then you implode today. You have scored 2 runs in the last 2 days against a Blue Jays team that is not one of the best teams in baseball. This is a Blue Jays team that before the last 2 days had only won 31 games on the year. You single-handedly helped the Blue Jays jump into the final wild card spot in the American League wild card. They were 2 games above 500 for the last 2 days. 2 games. This is a Blue Jays team whose pitching staff is actually not very good. They have allowed overall 263 runs this year. There's only a handful of teams that have allowed more than them. 8 in the American League to be exact. Oh, and by the way, they've scored fewer runs than they've allowed. Offense has struggled. But somehow, some way, the Phillies have allowed this team to beat them 2 straight days because their team can't play defense, the Phillies are talking about, can't play competent defense consistently. They can't hit with runners in scoring position consistently. This team looks as close to those mid-2000 teams that I never wanted to see ever again in the last several days. Between the end of the Braves series, the Brewers series over the weekend, and now losing 2 straight in Toronto, you had one nice game in the middle there. Someone's got to be the adult in the Phillies locker room. Stand up and tell everyone how much they stink. And they got to grow up and start earning their paycheck. I mean, even Max Kepler almost bungled a ball today. I mean, is Brandon Marsh just going to constantly keep being a loser in center field? Castellanos, I mean, what are you doing, man? You're giving us pretty much nothing lately at the plate or in the field. And let's be realistic. For as much credit as I gave Bryson Stott when he became the leadoff hitter for this team, I think the experiment's over. I think the Bryson Stott leadoff hitter experiment has run its course. And now you got to have a conversation about what are you going to do with this lineup. I understand Bryson Stott is seeing the most pitches of any leadoff hitter in the National League this year. I understand that, what's his name? Trey Turner has spoken very highly of Bryson Stott and how it helps him seeing pitches and how he loves Stott being a leadoff hitter and all this stuff. I totally get it, man. I totally get that the veterans on this team love his plate discipline and his patience. But the reality is that Bryson Stott went from being a nice story to hitting 204 in his last 28 games with a 259 on base percentage. That basically means that every 4 at-bats, he's only getting on base once. For a leadoff hitter, for a guy who's supposed to be hitting in front of Turner, Harper, Schwarber, it's not good enough, man. He was a wonderful story when it first started, when he had those 2 weeks where he was absolutely on fire as a leadoff hitter. But since May 1st, hasn't worked out. It's not going the way you hoped. So either the Phillies need to make some change with the lineup, or these guys got to be some grown-ups and have some difficult conversations in that locker room. Maybe you got to tell Rob Thompson, get out. We got to talk. And these guys got to have an honest conversation with each other about what are we doing, guys? It's not the dog days of summer. It's not August yet. Come on. We should have won the game last night. We dropped the ball literally and figuratively. And today, we get Rochambeau. What's going on? Is everybody okay? Is our minds where it needs to be? Because it certainly doesn't seem like it. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. One texter chimes in here. I got to get to before we hit the break. He says, Bryson Stott is now officially the worst leadoff hitter in baseball with players over 150 plate appearances. He has the lowest OPS. What are your thoughts? My thoughts is that it was a nice experiment, like I said. You know, it's one of those deals where I look at Stott as a guy who I don't know if he is. I had said this coming into the year, and I'm kind of coming back to it now on June 5th. So I first said this back in March and April, and now I'm coming back to it in June. I don't think Stott is the future of this team at second base. I think that next year, potentially the earliest, if not maybe a little later, but it could be next year, you could see Trey Turner at second and Aiden Miller at short. Because as currently constructed, Bryson Stott is just not good enough to help this team the way that they need him to. For a guy who was a first-round draft pick, he has not played well. And I think that his future is certainly up for debate. And maybe it's as extreme as the Phillies go into the deadline and even packaging Stott with a prospect to get a better second baseman. I don't even know what the answer is necessarily. And maybe the plan is to tell Trey Turner, hey, you're moving to the outfield next year. Aiden Miller is going to play shortstop. We're going to acquire our future second baseman at the deadline, So, the Phillies, the Stott situation, it's a problem, man. It's a serious problem. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll check on the NBA Finals. Game 1 is tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30 here on 97.3 ESPN. NBA insider Brandon ScoopB Robinson joins me on the other side. Plus, still to come, In about 25 minutes from now, we will hear from South Jersey's own Joanna, the final qualifier for this weekend's ShopRite LPGA Classic. 15 years after she first qualified for the event, she is now back in the field this weekend. Plus, we'll get to your text messages. I see Cole from LBI and others. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973.
Sip, savor, and fiesta at the Agave Tequila and Mezcal Festival at the Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City on July 24th. Celebrate International Tequila Day and enjoy a tasting experience featuring over 150 tequilas and mezcals from renowned and emerging brands, complemented by delicious food and live music from Stealing Savannah and DJ Aaron K. Premium access and general admission tickets are available now at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Bet with your head, not over it. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
May I help you?
I just wanted to request a late checkout, please.
Of course. That's $30 per hour for up to 4 hours.
Huh. Okay, but if you can offer a late checkout, then that probably means no one is staying in that room. So if it's empty, maybe I can just stay a few extra hours.
Oh, aren't you adorable?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
They say no two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app with over 16 million subscriptions sold? Well, we thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. She's an artist and absolutely a visual learner. She's doing a deep dive into our Babbel wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is very much a type A, say it to my face, listening learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to make sure that accent?
Precio.
Keith's a real people person and a curious learner, so he loves Babbel's Culture Bites, full of insights and native knowledge about the language he's learning. Like, what's served for Christmas dinner in Germany?
Glühwein, Weihnachtsgans und Christmasstollen.
Wherever you are, however you learn, Babbel is the best choice to break any language barrier. Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Ugh, I gotta get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
easy. Earbuds and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers play Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. Coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN at 7:30. The Thunder, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the league's MVP. The Pacers in the Finals for the first time since 2000. The Eagles wrapped up their final voluntary OTA today. Their mandatory minicamp will be on Tuesday of next week, and that'll be their final workout before training camp in late July. NHL Stanley Cup Finals, Game 2 on Friday night, Edmonton hosting the Florida Panthers. The Oilers rallied from a 3-1 deficit, beating the Panthers in overtime 4-3. Leon Draisaitl, the game winner. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
I thought people like me didn't get addicted to drugs. That's like saying people like me don't get sick. Just like anyone can get sick, anyone can struggle with addiction. And when you're struggling, there's no shame in getting help. I'm over the shame. I know who I am, and I'm in recovery for me.
Call 844-REACH-NJ. Talk to a counselor for confidential addiction help and see if you're eligible for no-cost treatment. 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. One more day of midsummer warmth ahead before our weather turns unsettled again, cloudy, cooler, and occasionally wet. Scattered clouds expected tonight, low temperature 67, fairly mild. Tomorrow, partly sunny, high of 83. Saturday, around us showers and thunderstorms likely, especially from morning through midday. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, high 78. Still a shower chance Sunday, high 76. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Announcing the 42nd annual Ranch Hope Wranglers Golf Classic, Friday, June 6th at Ron Jaworski's Running Deer Golf Club. Presented by Woodruff Energy, PSEG Nuclear, and Woodstown Trading Company. And also made possible by Comtech Systems, Mannington Flooring, First National Bank of Elmer, South Jersey Water Conditioning, Heritage Dairy Stores, RCL Solar, Pennsville Bank, B.R. Williams, the DRBA, and CW Services. Proceeds benefit Ranch Hope's ministry, serving New Jersey children, youth, and families who've experienced trauma in their lives. For more info and future Ranch Hope events, visit ranchhope.org.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll get back to Tech Sport in just a bit. Steve from Ventnor along with Cole and LBI at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. As always, we are live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. But right now, we're getting to the NBA Finals. Coverage begins at 7:30 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. And my friend, NBA insider Brendan ScoopB Robinson, willing to carve out some time to chat with us here about a matchup between two teams that, if I'm going to be blunt, my friend, I think you are one of the only people who foresaw this matchup happening many months ago. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good. I say a lot of things. Did I say that on your show?
You didn't say it on my show. You said it on somebody else's show. But I saw someone else share the clip, and then you reshared it, which put it onto my feed, which put it into my memory, and now here we are.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City is, to me, from the beginning of the season, is a team that I was very high on. So I do remember giving them kudos and at least spend significant time around them. I just know what they've been building, and I'm glad to see them this upswing. The job's not finished, though. And then on the Pacers side, I think this is a team that's literally a dragon slayer. You know, they've literally beaten Milwaukee, Cleveland, the New York Knicks, and will they do it again? Game one is later this evening.
Let's dig into some of these matchups because and I'm not saying this to diminish what the Pacers have done at all. So when I say this, take it for what it is, not for what I might be potentially inferring. But for me, I think the Pacers built their team in a way that, styles make fights. They built a team that was a problem for the Cavs and a problem for the Knicks. I think that they built a team in a way that put them at a competitive advantage instead of just building a team with a bunch of stars.
The Pacers you're speaking of?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it really legitimately started, I think, when they made the move to get Pascal Siakam. But even before then, the move with the Sacramento Kings to bring in Tyrese Halliburton. And I'll add, Tyrese Halliburton almost became a 76er prior to the Pacers move. Sacramento was having conversations with the 76ers about Tyrese Halliburton and Ben Simmons, and Sacramento was high on both Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. And, the conversations I know were, along the lines of, they were on the phone with Philly, and the front office in Philly, said to Elton Brand at the time, listen, this is what we have. We'll give you a weekend to think about it, and you get back to me. And then, honestly, that didn't happen that way. And here we are now. The Pacers are in the NBA Finals with Tyrese Halliburton as the face. But I'm not sure how Tyrese Halliburton and how Tyrese Maxey would have gelled together. But when you look at that Pacers team overall, it's not just Halliburton. It's not just Pascal Siakam. It's also Miles Turner, who, had played well at the points that needed to be handled at points during playoffs. But it's also Aaron Nesmith. It's also Andrew Nembhard. Like, those guys are great role players, and you really saw Nembhard and Nesmith come alive in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks. So I think that our country is beginning to pay more attention to who these characters are on both teams, and I think you'll definitely see that even down to coaching on the Thunder side. Who is their head coach, and why is he important? I think you're going to see, even with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the NBA's reigning MVP, he's not only Canadian, but he's of Antiguan descent. He's Caribbean and he's Canadian. I think gone are the days of just American players with some level of heritage from another country. You're seeing double bonuses of that, and how far basketball extends borders. And I think that's great to see.
If I could back up to the Indiana point for a second, because you mentioned how, the world in America is actually starting to see Indiana now, that they're kind of like being forced on you. And I'm glad you brought up the Pascal Siakam trade, because I remember before that trade happened, I wanted the Sixers to go after him. I thought he would have been a great fit with Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. But the Pacers jumped in, swooped, got that move, and you look at what Siakam has done in this postseason, there's a little bit, I'm not saying it's the same, but it's a little bit of reminding me of the impact, a little more of an impact, but the impact that I remember when Ibaka was acquired by the Raptors and how he changed the dynamics of the Toronto front court. And I'm looking at Pascal Siakam, and he genuinely changed the dynamics of the Pacers front court.
Yeah, I definitely think you look at Pascal Siakam. He has not only championship experience, he's from Cameroon, just like Joel Embiid. There is there's a brotherhood of Cameroonians that are growing throughout the NBA. Not only is it Siakam, not only is it Joel Embiid, it's also their center that they drafted, Yves Missy, who I can't believe he came from Baylor. He was the 21st pick in the last year's draft, and I had reported just the Pelicans' interest. But I actually spent time with Yves this season, and he spoke glowingly about how much Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam have been brothers and mentors to him. And I just want to make mention of that again, just the extension of international players and international influence that is across the NBA. But specifically to your question about just the Pacers and Pascal Siakam and more, I know that there was also interest that the 76ers had at one point in Benedict Mathurin. And, I'm glad to see him, do his thing. He's of Haitian descent, and I believe he is Canadian as well. So there's just a lot of guys that people are beginning to learn. And I'm glad to see it. James Johnson, Thomas Bryant, former Sixer TJ McConnell is also on that roster. There's a lot of guys on that team.
Talking with NBA insider Brandon ScoopB Robinson here on 97.3 ESPN. That's ScoopB on the Twitter X platform, as well as on Instagram for all of his NBA coverage and everything he's covering as well. Check out ScoopB Radio over on the YouTube platform, ScoopB.com for all of his coverage as well. You just mentioned about the international flavor and all of this, and let's focus on that for a minute, because we'll get TJ McConnell. Let's put that on the back burner for a minute. This NBA Finals, you're right, is like the next stage in the evolution of the growth of basketball, right? The growth of the internationalization of the game. And I think about how they talk about how, it's going to be U.S. versus the world in the NBA All-Star game. And I got to be honest, if I'm an American-born player, I might be scared that I'm going to get embarrassed, because the international players, my friend, they're turning into the best players. It's not just look, Arvydas Sabonis, he's coming over here at age 30. He's past his prime. No, these are studs. SGA, Nikola Jokic. These are guys, and either in or entering the prime of their careers, and the majority of the great American players, they're getting long in the tooth.
I mean, yeah, I look at the top U.S.-born NBA players currently. Anthony Edwards isn't injured, so right now, to me, it's him. Then it's Jason Tatum. If you're talking about 20, under 23 or above, or 23 and under, rather. If you're looking at the top players outside of them, you look at Harden, you look at KD, you look at LeBron, you look at Steph Curry, Bam Adebayo, Kawhi Leonard. But I think David Stern's plan in '92 worked. Post Barcelona Olympics, the global expansion, like Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, they grew up watching the Dream Team, and the Dream Team influenced a whole generation. Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Karl Malone, all those guys. I don't want to sell any of those guys short.
Sure.
But that whole '92 Dream Team influenced a generation. The partnerships with Coca-Cola, Nike, and more birthed a multitude of future Hall of Famers, billionaires, multimillionaires, and birthed a generation, like you said, where we're not just looking at Arvydas Sabonis' 36-year-old finally leaving his club team to play in the NBA, and it's still good. Like when you look at the top non-American players in the NBA, look no further than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as well as Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and those are just top three. You have more, even locally. Joel Embiid, when healthy, is pretty damn good basketball player. So I think that the NBA is in a very, if we embrace ethnicity, and we have to embrace it, that we have to embrace the fact that basketball is a global game. But I'll add this. Just like the U.S. basketball team had to readjust their situation in the NBA, or rather in the global game, they have to reassess it in the U.S. game. And I'll add this: I did not make mention of Luka Doncic and Victor Wembanyama as great global ambassadors as well. Giannis, Luka, and Wemby are probably the future faces of the league that I don't think get talked about as much. As far as, in comparison to, Anthony Edwards and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and others. So I just want to put that out there.
I got to backtrack and get back to TJ McConnell, because I was having a conversation with a couple of the guys here at the studio before the shows today, and I went back in my mind to, for those who might not remember, but when the Los Angeles Kings were winning their Stanley Cups about 15 years ago, the joke was that all the Flyer fans were rooting for them because they had so many former Flyers. They had 4 to 5 guys who were all former Flyers, significant former Flyers, on the team. And now fast forward 15 years later, TJ McConnell, you got Coach Lloyd Pierce is on that coaching staff for the Pacers, Tony Bradley. So there's former Sixers on the team, and I was asking the idea, are Sixer fans rooting for these guys? And my friend ScoopB, I got to tell you, I've had 2 people tell me they are emphatically rooting for TJ McConnell and Lloyd Pierce to win a title.
Lloyd Pierce is also is someone who has been discussed in potential coaching candidates for the New York Knicks head coaching position as well, I'm told. I reported that the other day. So I hope to see the Pacers do well, because I'd like to see Lloyd Pierce get more attention. He definitely got a real deal with the Atlanta Hawks and how he was let go. And I'm rooting for him. As far as your question about TJ McConnell, how could you hate TJ McConnell? I think I remember that 76ers team with McConnell and Ben Simmons and Embiid, and J.J. Redick was on that team, I think, as well. There were a lot of guys on that team that were just endearing. And I like TJ. And you hope to see him, one day move up the coaching ranks when he retires. But for right now, he's competing for a championship. Guy that went to Duquesne and later to Arizona and did his thing as an undrafted player. So
yeah,
you root for guys like that.
no one's going to be rooting for Lloyd Pierce if he takes the next job. I can confirm that.
Say that again.
I said nobody in Philadelphia is rooting for Lloyd Pierce if he gets the next job. We all know that.
But Lloyd Pierce is a basketball lifer. I don't think people realize how much of a basketball lifer Lloyd Pierce is, but I feel they'll soon find out. His name will continue to buzz.
You mentioned about your reporting at ScoopB.com, at ScoopB on the X platform, and on Instagram is where you give him a follow. You mentioned about Giannis a few minutes ago. You were one of the first people that I saw talking about the potential of Giannis's future and how that is up in the air. I would be remiss if I didn't follow up with you about that and kind of get your feel. Obviously, you can't predict everything that's going to happen, but do you have a feeling of, when I say it this way, I'm not saying it to be, flippant, but do you have a vibe right now of, how real it could be of him potentially leaving the Bucks?
I mean, I feel like the world has caught up to things I've said. On March 14th, I reported that the Toronto Raptors and Giannis Antetokounmpo do have mutual interest. I wrote that in my article at ScoopB.com, and but the Nets are definitely another team who have keenly been on the lookout for Giannis, and there's some interest there. But Toronto, to me, right now has a stronger chance because they have the assets to make that happen. So I do know that there is mutual interest, and that Giannis and Masai Ujiri have mutual respect for one another, and it's just a matter of fit. And then Giannis wants to be in a situation where he wants to stay east, as I reported, and there's a desire to not just represent a city but represent a country, and Canada is a place of interest to Giannis, and so those are the two teams that I'm hearing. A strong favorite right now is Toronto. I remember I reported that last month, and it actually boosted the odds of the betting odds. So
it did. It's all your fault.
Yeah. Sorry, but yeah, I caught hell for that. I caught hell for that report, and I also did mention the Miami Heat is not a team that Giannis wants to play for, I'm told, and it has a lot to do with the culture that is there, and that doesn't fit his tickle his fancy, but it's not for everybody. So. That is what I have been hearing, and that hasn't really changed since March 14th and March 16th, respectively, when I reported just all the comings and goings of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Before I let you go, just to follow up on that point because you mentioned about all these teams, but to me, part of it also comes down to Giannis. Like what does Giannis want? I think that gets overlooked in all this, right? Is the fact that Giannis is not some belligerent child. Like, he is somebody he's loyal, he's resilient, he has viewed Milwaukee as home for a very long time. This is not some cheap decision he's making here.
No, I mean it's as I mentioned, you can check it out in my blog section at ScoopB.com. Some of the points that I detailed was, an East Coast focus. His desire is to stay in the Eastern Conference, which is a key factor in his potential move. The Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets are the two teams that have emerged as destinations of interest for him. And part of it is, his desire, his control and market appeal. He seeks a team where he might have a significant voice in decisions in a market that can attract a bunch of other star players. The Bucks' struggles in the playoffs since 2021 championship have contributed to the speculation about Giannis' future, but I can tell you that and had a list of players that he'd like to team up with. And, there were names like Chris Paul on that list, James Harden on that list. And, he did end up signing an extension in 2020 in the offseason. And then, the following year, the Bucks did make it to the NBA Finals, so they won a championship. But over the years, you've just seen things kind of change. You saw Mike Budenholzer part ways with the Bucks. You saw Doc Rivers come in. You saw Damian Lillard come in. You saw Chris Middleton get traded. You saw just a lot of different moving parts. And, Giannis, from what I know, tends to kind of move quietly in his moves. And but I do know that he did have a wish list of players that he wants. And he kind of moves a little differently. I know that the connection to Ujiri is something that we should be paying attention to. They're both of Nigerian descent, and they connect on that level. But I do know that Brooklyn is a team that has had their eyes set on Giannis for a while, and I have to give credit to Brian Lewis over at the New York Post, who was the first to kind of report the comings and goings. I've done my own individual research in New York, and I know that he does a lot of business with the Greek community and in the New York metropolitan area. And, he has spoken glowingly privately to people that I know in New York City about liking the city, but liking the city and playing in the city is two different things. The strongest indication that I got is that he'd like to play in Toronto, but ultimately he does not have a no-trade clause. And the Milwaukee Bucks could either choose to keep him or trade him to wherever they want to trade him to.
He's NBA insider Brandon ScoopB Robinson. ScoopB.com is the website, at ScoopB on the X platform and Instagram. And, of course, check out ScoopB Radio on YouTube. My friend, I appreciate the time today. Enjoy the NBA Finals, and we'll talk soon.
Brother, thank you for the opportunity to be myself. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Coming up on the other side, South Jersey's own Joanna Coe. She is in the field this weekend for the ShopRite LPGA Classic. Hear her story of how she got into the field coming up next.
This is the NBA Finals.
When you get to this point of the season, it's two teams and it's one goal. It becomes an all or nothing thing.
Alexander burying a three. The Indiana Pacers versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Finals. Coverage of Game 1 begins tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA Finals, Game 1, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
The Piccalilli Inn in Shamong invites you for fun times in the Pines on the Pic Patio. Stop by for the game and order up their world-famous wings, an ice-cold beer, or fun selection of fresh-made cocktails on a sunny afternoon or by the fire under a starry night. Skip the lane change. Get off the beaten path and take the trip to the family-owned Piccalilli Inn this weekend. Route 206, Shamong.
If you can't stop in, stop back. The Piccalilli Inn.
If you need to hire, you know it takes time. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You simply pick a time and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day.
Try Zip Intro for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Matt McCusker, the razor-sharp co-host of Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, is hitting the stage at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City on August 16th. From viral specials to sold-out shows, Matt McCusker has made himself a fan favorite across the country. It'll be a night of unfiltered and unforgettable comedy you don't want to miss. Tickets are on sale now at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So, we had a huge new business pitch.
Attention, all hands on deck.
When, boom, our only printer was fried.
Up in smoke, like your chances of landing that account.
Well, I just sent the file to Staples. Devin, the print associate, was on it. She had it printed and bound same day.
So, where's the drama?
There wasn't any. Staples made it super easy.
Inconceivable. For the products, services, and experts you need, Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. and spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Want to stay out of the dark the next time a storm hits? Then reach out to Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit CalviElectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN, back here on Game Night as we are live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. We're going to go over right now. Tomorrow, Mike Gill and the Sports Bash will be live at the ShopRite LPGA Classic for the first round. And one of the participants in that first round tomorrow is going to be South Jersey's own Joanna Coe. She is in the field. She was one of the last qualifiers on Monday, and she joins us now on 97.3 ESPN. Joanna, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you jumping on. So kind of give the audience an idea of what this has been like for you, because I'm sure it's been a bit of a whirlwind for you to basically get in on the last day on Monday. So kind of like walk the audience through, like, what was the weekend like? What was the lead up to Monday?
Sure. So just to let everyone know, I'm not a tour professional anymore. I am a PGA professional. I'm the director of instruction at Marion Golf Club in Philadelphia. So I just kind of on a whim decided to sign up because I am playing in the KPMG Women's PGA Championship in 2 weeks. So I thought, I could use this as a practice round. I play in the Philadelphia PGA section a lot, and it's a lot of events with mostly men in the field. So I thought, let's get in the mindset of women's golf. So I just kind of signed up and thought I'd use it as a nice practice round. So I taught all weekend. I teach golf for a living now, and I have a baby girl. So just taking care of baby girls, kind of a normal weekend ritual for me. And on Monday, just drove down in the morning, no practice round, nothing, just kind of showed up. And my coach, who taught me everything I know, he caddied for me, Bruce Chalucci, and so met him here at Seaview at like 11:45, and we warmed up, and he started watching me hit, and he was like, "This is looking pretty good." I was like, "I know, it is looking pretty good." And then, I par one, I par number two, and I think number two is the hardest hole on the property. And I thought, okay, this could be pretty good. And then I birdie three, and from the stretch of 4, 5, 6, those are the only greens I missed. And the rest of the round, I hit greens in regulation and made 6 birdies and just kind of had a day. So it was fun. But then I thought immediately after the round, I didn't really know the scoring. I wasn't looking at any leaderboards. So then I pulled out my phone, I looked at the leaderboard, and I had a 3-shot lead, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening. So I had to try to figure out the week's schedule because I really had a million lessons and lots of things going on at Marion. We have member guests today and tomorrow and the next day and lots of things going on. So rescheduled some lessons and figured out logistics with my husband, and here I am.
All right, so I got to backtrack because you described it on a whim. You decided to do this. I don't think a lot of people in this world can say, oh, on a whim, I'm going to go play a golf course and shoot 3 under. I mean, you realize how wild that sounds, right?
I know, but it's a golf course I do know. I played a lot of high school golf here, junior stuff. I've played in the ShopRite before. So, yeah, and I haven't played in the ShopRite in a long time, and I'm 35 years old now. And it's funny, the last reporter helped me remember that it was 15 years ago that I played in this event, and I felt really old all of a sudden. But I can still physically hang. So, yes, it was on a whim. I decided to just do it and use it as a practice round, and it turned out to be a very good one.
We're talking with Mays from Mays Landing, Joanna Coe. Of course, she's joining us. She got in on Monday, the practice round. She is currently a PGA instructor over at Marion Club. So you mentioned about your work at Marion. How much is that work as an instructor, working with people over there? How maybe did that keep you in the golfing mindset to be ready for a moment like this?
Well, yeah, I still compete a lot in the Philadelphia section and in PGA national events. So I'm just not on LPGA tour. I just don't travel and do this for a living anymore. But yeah, I'm very in tune with, I understand a lot about the golf swing. I understand a lot about technique and how, and ball flight laws and short game strategies. And I just understand the game at a whole nother level than when I used to try to play for a living. So I'm also just totally freed up because it's all just bonus for me. It's not my livelihood anymore. So I'm just pretty happy. And my students find it hilarious at times. They're like, wait, you just won a Monday qualifier. Now you're teaching this clinic the next morning for a bunch of beginner women. And they're like, this is hilarious. But it's what makes me happy. And I love it. So yeah, I taught golf all day Tuesday and Wednesday and packed up last night and here I am.
I love it. So if I could backtrack with you, because you mentioned your husband, the last time I saw you and Ryan was before you guys got married. And I believe this was like 2018. And I remember back then you had kind of made the comment about how you were like, I don't know if I'm ever going to really, be in a situation where I'm going to be able to play this course anymore. So, from the last several years to now, I mean, your life has changed a lot. So tell the audience a little bit about those changes.
It has changed a lot. I had a baby girl. We had a baby girl almost a year ago, June 14th, 2024. And so last spring and summer, I was super pregnant, and I competed up until I was 39 weeks pregnant. And then I got back going again about 12 weeks postpartum. But it's been a whole new world, and she's just added so much to our life. I just love her so much. She's a wonderful baby girl, and she's going to come down. My husband's going to bring her down later tonight, and so I'm looking forward to seeing her, and she won't ever remember this, but it'll be kind of special for me to see her out at the golf course and to watch mommy play the game she loves. So yeah, everything has changed, but as long as I can kind of physically still do this and feel like I'm hitting it a length that I can hang out here, then it's like, why not? I love it so much. I love competitive golf. It's like my high in life. So that's why I keep trying to get after it, but it's not everything to me anymore. It's just fun. It's just bonus.
Absolutely. A couple more for Joanna Coe here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the tee times are out for tomorrow for the ShopRite LPGA Classic. And I love how you put on social media, for those who want to follow your journey right now, they can follow you at Joco PGA. You put out there that you're a couple groups behind the number one golfer in the world, Nelly Korda, and also you're looks like you're two groups behind two-time champ Stacey Lewis, also former champ Brooke Henderson. So you're set up right now. You're kind of like in the mix of everything right now at this tee time.
I know. I was joking with some folks. I'm like, I either want to be with Nelly or like the complete opposite wave so that I can go and watch her. But I'll take it. I'm a few groups behind her. So maybe when I'm on 1 and she's on 4, I'll be able to see that crowd. She's just unbelievable. It's been what she did last year when she won, 6 times in a row is just insane. I mean, that's just Scotty Scheffler stuff. And the game is an exciting place between Nelly and Scotty and how much they've dominated the last couple of years. So pretty cool. I'll be on the range with her, and I'll try to sneak a couple swing videos somehow.
Well, you mentioned about Nelly, and that is, there's been no repeat winners on the LPGA this year. There's actually been a lot of parity compared to last year. You mentioned about what Scotty does on the PGA. As someone who loves the sport as much as you do, what do you think is better? Do you think it's better for there to be a dominant force, or do you think it's better for there to be a different winner every week?
Oh, geez. I mean, I guess it's a mix of both. I think what happened last year was so cool. And again, for it to be an American-based tour and to have an American player as the number one player in the world right now, that's very strong for the LPGA. And even for the PGA Tour with Scotty right now. The men have had more American players at number 1, but the women have not recently. So I think it's amazing that Nelly goes on a run. She was right in the thick of things at Erin Hills. So she's right there, and who knows if she'll go on another little run. But I think it's great for the game when you see a couple people that can absolutely just go on these crazy runs of dominating. But then that's what's great about the game of golf is just maybe a Monday qualifier will just get in there and all of a sudden play well. So, and look at Ben Griffin, right? Randomly, he's on a little hot streak. So that's what's great about the game of golf. I love both scenarios.
Yeah, I feel like in golf, it's one of those sports where those scenarios are more enjoyable to follow because then you start getting invested in these stories. And I know a lot of people are going to be invested in your story. Joanna Ko, Mays Landing Zone. She was the Monday qualifier, shot 3 under par, and she will be teeing off tomorrow at 1:48 p.m. Joanna, I appreciate you jumping on. Best of luck this weekend. And as you said, have fun. This is an amazing moment for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to soak it all up, and it's good to be home.
Great stuff from Joanna Ko here. She joined us. I chatted with her earlier today. She joined us here on 97.3 ESPN. Couple quick texts squeeze in before we get out of here. I promise I'd read these off. Cole from LBI says Luzardo should have the team on high alert. If they don't get the starting pitching they have so far, the only people you trust on offense is Turner, Harper, and Schwarber. This team is going to have problems. I would say they already have problems, Cole and LBI. They are living a very delusional life right now. Very delusional life. Stephen Mettner chimes in and says the Phillies should sign Barneget's Jay Groom. He just became a minor league free agent. Yeah, but there's a reason why Groom's a minor league free agent. He's gotten some issues off the field. So I don't know if the Phillies want to deal with that headache in their organization. But maybe they do. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman.
If a person...
I was going to follow up on what Stephen Mettner texted in here on my YouTube channel, only at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. We try to do some post-show commentary real quick before we get out of here. By the way, really enjoyed chatting with Joanna Ko. I remember years ago when I ran into her and her now husband. They weren't even, I don't even think they were engaged yet at that point, Ryan. But, it's one of those deals where it's like you remember running into somebody and talking to them, and then you see how they've grown and evolved all these years later. And I'm excited. I'm going to actually get to go to the LPGA this weekend. I'm excited to see how she does this weekend. And like I said, maybe it's a Hallmark story. Maybe it's a Hallmark movie one day. But to the Jay Groom thing, for those who don't know the story of Jay Groom, right? So Jay Groom was a big-time prospect years ago, okay? Jay Groom was the 12th overall pick in the 2016 Major League Baseball draft. And there was always a perspective on Groom that, well, he was only a high draft pick because he's left-handed. And, if he wasn't left-handed, he wouldn't have been drafted so high. That was kind of always the attitude. But he did have good enough stuff that major league teams would have drafted him somewhere along the way. He would have been drafted no matter what. And his time in the minor leagues was okay, not great. It was kind of up and down, up and down, up and down. And then he ended up being the centerpiece of a pretty significant trade because he was originally drafted by the Red Sox. And he later got traded. And it was one of those trades where I think a lot of people didn't realize how many teams around Major League Baseball valued him. And so, he gets traded, but then he got suspended for betting on baseball. And the reporting was, and I wrote an article about it, 973ESPN.com, that he basically had placed 30 bets over the course of a couple years. And the suspension that he received led to him being non-tendered and passing through waivers. And at that point, it was like nobody wanted him at this point now. 9 years after being a first-round draft pick, a high-level pick, okay? a guy who was sent to the Padres because the Red Sox really wanted Eric Hosmer. And they got 2 prospects out of the Padres, one of them being Corey Rozier. Well, he did all right with the Padres initially, but he didn't pitch well the next year. And then he gets suspended for this whole gambling situation. And there has been a lot of, and I can't substantiate all the rumors, but I'm just putting it out there for information's sake. People can do with information what they want. Okay, I'm not here to tell you what to think, but there's a lot of wording out there that apparently Jay Groom is a difficult individual, and he has not always been the best teammate. And between the gambling suspension and his erratic pitching in the minor leagues, that's the reason why he is a free agent. And I don't know what his future is. I mean, he's 26 years old, and he has started 101 minor league games. And I don't know how he would feel about being a bullpen pitcher at this point. I don't know if he's willing to accept what he might consider to be a demotion. Overall, he has pitched okay in the minor leagues. You know, he has 504 strikeouts and 447 innings pitched, but his whip is high. He walks a lot of guys. He gives up a lot of hits. So I don't know what his future is. I hope for the best for the guy, but between the gambling suspension, between the reports out there that he's a bit of a problem child off the field, I don't know what his future is. And it's an amazing dichotomy between 2 South Jersey athletes. On one hand, you have Joanna who has taken advantage of every opportunity she's been given and maximized it. She gets to play on her home course 15 years ago, and she qualifies for the ShopRite LPGA. And she was on the LPGA tour, but then she took a different career direction. She had the opportunity to become a PGA instructor. I mean, that's a pretty significant position that she has at the Marion Golf Club. And she is now, as she said, she's a part of the PGA organization, the tour, the entity in and of itself. So, and for a woman from South Jersey to get to that level is impressive in itself. And now she comes out of nowhere at 35 years old and is like, I'm just going to go try this out, see how it works. And then she qualifies. And she's like, well, I got to do something about this now. I'm in the tournament. Let's go. We got to rearrange our schedules. And it's an amazing dichotomy of people because Jay Groom, first-round draft pick, should have been somebody. Hasn't been able to maximize his potential. He was a centerpiece of a huge trade a few years ago. And then he's gambling. Gets in trouble for that. Speculation that he's not a good teammate. He's a bit of an off-the-field pain. And then that's why he was let go by the Padres organization. It was why he was traded by the Red Sox organization. And so you got to believe that, you see 2 very different people both getting opportunities. One, in Joanna maximizes her opportunities and is now living an incredible life. She's married. She has a kid. She has an incredible job. And now it's a Hallmark movie. She gets to play on her home team's Hallmark. Call me. What's the other one? Ion. Call me. I'll write the script for you. I guarantee you, I'll cost less than some of those Hollywood writers who went on strike last year. But seriously, it's an incredible story with this young, well, not young anymore. I mean, she's 35 now. She's just a lady at this point. But compared to Jay Groom, who's now 26 years old, and he's sitting outside a ballpark wondering what he's going to do with his life. And it just goes to show you, life's all about opportunity, and whether you take advantage of it or not, it's on you. I know for me, I've been very fortunate to be working here at 97.3 ESPN, and I don't take that for granted. I had Mike Gill reach out to me. It was in 2015. It was almost literally 10 years ago right now. And we had a conversation. And after I came on part-time in September of 2015, it was February. So it was September, October, November, December. So it was 6 months later, I get the news that Pete Giordano had accepted a job at SiriusXM. Mike Gill turned to me and the bosses here at the company and said, hey, we would like to elevate you into this job. And I knew this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And, for me, I have parlayed what seemed to be I parlayed a part-time opportunity into what is now extended into a huge chunk of my 20 years in the media business, starting in newspapers and getting in the radio. And now we got YouTube, we got social media, we got writing articles for the website. I've had the opportunity to host all kinds of shows. It's all about what do you do with your opportunities. And I genuinely think that Joanna Co. is an amazing example of someone who has maximized all of her opportunities. And I look at Jay Groom, another South Jersey high school graduate from Barnegat, and he hasn't maximized it. So it's just an amazing dichotomy there. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. We got news coming up next week. I'm looking forward to announcing some of the future projects that will be on this YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. So thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN.com, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. I'll catch you tomorrow.